Welcome you to today's executive meeting. We not only record this meeting, put it out on YouTube. We also would ask if you put your phones to silent. It's good to have people from the public observing us, and I hope there's hundreds and hundreds at home doing the same. We will see, and welcome to others as they come in. Apologies I've received from Councillor Ian Cottingham and Denise Gaines. Any others, Sadie, please?
Yes, we also have apologies from Councillor Ross McKinnon and Adrian Abbs.
And some from Councillor Burke, perhaps?
Apologies from Councillor Somner and Chancellors Somner and Stewart. Councillor Williston is on his way.
Thank you very much. So we start off in the time-honoured way of looking through and agreeing the minutes, please. Page 7. Are members willing to accept the previous minutes of the meeting held on the 3rd of July? I'm looking at Councillor Gawley, who's proposing, Councillor Codling, who's seconding. All those in favour accepting those minutes? Thank you very much. I've then got another meeting on the 17th of July 2025. Again, a proposer, please. And Councillor Foote and Councillor Pemberton as a seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Could I ask Sadie if there's been any declarations of interest?
No declarations of interest, Leader.
Are there any declared in the room, please? Thank you very much. Okay. So we start off with our portfolio holder for adult social care, Patrick Clark, making a statement. Councillor Taylor.
Not like a mic that works here. So, yeah, could I'd just like to raise a point of order in that I understand it's customary that petitions are taken first before statements and sorry?
I'm not sure there is a custom, Clive. Over the years,
I just really wanted to draw it to the council's attention that I thought that's my understanding. I'm not asking for the agenda necessarily to be changed. I just wanted to draw it to your attention.
I hear the point you're making. There's not been a lot of statements by executive or administration members in executive over the years. I've sort of introduced it because it can clear up things without waiting for reports to grind their way through the system. And that's what Councillor Clark will do this evening. So we'll stick to the agenda, but I note your point.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Clark, over to you.
Thank you very much, Leader. On the 17th of July, we announced that we would look at outsourcing our resource centres in order to save the council money. We thought this could save the council around £500,000. Since the first announcement, we have been very clear, and in actual fact, at that first announcement, we were very clear that we will only outsource or close the resource centres if alternative provision or a service of people that can provide a service that is as good or better than the one they receive at the moment. We've now conducted our review of the services that could be provided, and I would like to announce that we are not considering outsourcing our resource centres. So they will continue to be provided by the council. We will now maintain operations at the current resource centres to ensure that people receive the best quality of care. We know that the period of uncertainty from the initial announcement has been hard work for the people who use the centres, their families and our staff, and I can only apologise for this. I'm sorry. We want to be a transparent administration, and that means sometimes we can't keep quiet until we have a definitive position. We need to talk to our staff, to our colleagues, and to the people who receive the care to explore options with them. We know that people get sick of hearing about the council's financial problems. We know that the possible solutions we have to explore are not glamorous, sometimes very unglamorous. But please work with us on making West Berkshire a better place, with a council that is in control of its finances. And we can make the decisions that will benefit our residents, not just today, but for the future as well. We will continue to talk to our staff and the people who receive care to let them know what will happen next. We want people to know what's happening. We value clear communications. So email updates will be sent out to service users, posters will be put up at some of our sites, and our website will be updated with more information as we have it. Our staff will receive regular updates through team briefings and internet updates with question and answer sessions. We will continue to present information to the council to inform the elected representatives of the progress of our savings analysis. Announcements will also be made in the press. We still have to make savings, but we consider the opportunity to keep the resource centres open is the best way forwards while looking at providing additional services at these centres. This is likely to mean complementary services such as family hubs within the same buildings, which will help us to maintain the centre's viability, but also allow us to keep as broad a range of services as possible for residents. So I am pleased that we are able to keep the resource centres open. We have looked at our analysis of quality of care that could have been offered by alternative providers at a granular level, and we have been able to address the concerns of the people who provide care and the people who receive care. We can continue to provide good quality of service for the residents of West Berkshire.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I'll take one question from each group leader, and you're the standing group leader tonight, so I'll take that. Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a sorry story, really, isn't it, Councillor?
It's a question, sir.
The question
Please.
comes that what, Councillor Clark, have you taken away from this in terms of being more considerate towards employees, service users, and their families who have been put through enormous stress and dismay? You've put the cart before the horse when you talk about.
Okay, I think we've got the question, Councillor Clark.
This is something that continues to be a driving force here, is the importance of clear communications. As I said earlier on, it's really important that we talk to people about what's happening. It's really important that we are transparent and clear. Again, it does cause uncertainty, which is the nature of local government. So,
did you want to come in, Councillor Marsh? One question, please.
Yes, please. Well, okay, if I've just got one question, I will resist the temptation to say that the Greens were right all along yet again.
And you haven't resisted. Can you get to your question, please?
Yes, when you say this just was thought up you started considering this in July, it was actually last December that you said you were seeking to source an external provider. What I would like to know is, you then presented to the budget meeting in February that this would save the oddly detailed figure, specific figure of £169,000, which we thought at the time, we said at the time was total pie in the sky. Are you still looking to save that amount of money because it went into the budget at that saving? And is this project and the care homes privatisation project, are they still in the regeneration proposals, which went to the scrutiny committee last week? So in other words, what I'm saying, Councillor Clark, is can you give any more clarity about any of this? Because it really sounds, on terms of the savings and the future of these projects, we don't really know what you're telling us. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Well, I mean, the important thing there was that the uncertainty about the resource centres is resolved. In terms of the savings, I don't think we can make the same savings without outsourcing the resource centres, but we can look to consolidating some of the services provided in other places in the resource centres, thus making, perhaps you could say, better use of the space. But again, that's something to be reviewed. And as I said, earlier on, I will continue to give updates to the council or the councillors at these meetings. As for care homes, that is a separate matter from the resource centres, and we continue to look at options for those.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Managing and running this council. No, I said just the leaders, and you are the leader. Why did I? No, you're not the leader. Councillor Mark is the
May
leader.
I ask a question, please,
No,
Leader, as
no,
Chair of the Resource and Place Scrutiny, who
No.
you came to speak to last week?
No,
You said
I'm
you would
sorry.
still make savings of
No,
469,000?
sorry, you are asking a
Okay.
question. I'm saying I do not want a question
I
from
will
you.
take it up separately then, because I
Thank you
feel
very
that the
much.
committee was misled last Tuesday.
Well, it wasn't misled at all. That's a charge I do not accept. If you allow me, to manage and run a council means that you have to look at lots of things you'd rather not look at. This was not a small potential saving. This was £469,000 when it started out in the budget setting. You can't ignore that sort of sum of money. It does upset, worry, give stress and anxiety to staff and clients, customer users. I'm not really making a political point, but you in administration, Councillor Burke, for 18 years, faced just the sort of same problems and suggested things that you rode back on, and staff would have been, I'm sure I can find examples, very anxious about that over the years. I'm glad there are staff in tonight. We have apologised that you've been put through that. We looked very carefully, and the officers said there is reason to believe that the voluntary sector could pick up many of these services. And while they can, it wasn't good enough. The work you do has been looked at and seen for the quality it provides to our residents. Thank you. And I look forward to you continuing to deliver that. We'll move on to public questions now, please. No, sir, it's not a debate, sir.
About this, I want to move on from that, accept that. I just want to ask a question, if I may, about the process.
It is about this then.
No, it's about the procedures, shall we say, rather, this evening. And the practice that you've adopted of making statements ahead of the
Yes,
full
yeah.
agenda of meetings.
Right.
When you came into power,
Oh, no.
you promised
Let's take this offline.
transparency.
We are being transparent. I'm not being drawn into a
you're
long
shutting
debate
down
about this,
debate.
Councillor Bowick. I'm moving on. We have public questions. Now, while we're moving into public questions, there are a great many of them. We went right through the alphabet and into the second alphabet of AA. A huge amount of effort from our staff to get these answers together. Let's see how we get on. Sadie, will you give me a 5-minute warning on the 30 minutes? It'll go on, sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, you will? 5-minute warning at 25 minutes, please. The first question is from Mrs. Saunderson, question A, to the portfolio holder for community engagement, economic development and regeneration and devolution and local government reorganisation. What a grand title, Councillor Pemberton. So over to you, sir. Question A, thank you.
So thank you for your question, Ms. Saunderson. I'm a little curious to understand the rationale behind the request, which starts from quite a long period of time ago, over 5 years, but as well the entire intervening period. Our officers will endeavour to be helpful, and the council is, of course, committed to transparency. However, the time required to provide the information in the form that you've requested will be significant. So it would be helpful to understand the reason that you're asking for the information, as it may be able to be addressed in a particular way or an alternative way. In terms of the information itself, we're likely to run into issues with officer time. I have to tell you, Ms Saunderson, it seems likely that we will struggle to provide that in a timely manner. So there is the option of a freedom of information request, which you will of course be aware of. You'll probably be aware that such a freedom of information request needs to be made in writing. If you can't make the request in writing, you can of course contact our officers and they can assist you to make that request in another way. But there must be a valid reason as to why the request cannot be made otherwise than in writing. Again, as you may know, and I do apologise if this is information that you are aware of, but I think it's important in terms of setting the context to this information request. And we are required to give that information to you, subject to an FOI request within 20 working days. Our officers will tell you when to expect that information if they need extra time. And if that request involves more than one council team, they may have to share your details and that request between them to answer it as effectively as possible. No other details will be shared in that scenario, and the information that you provide to us won't be used for any other purpose. Again, apologies if this is labouring the point, but I also need to make you aware that even with freedom of information requests, there are also limits on officer time, as well as certain circumstances in which even FOI requests may be turned down. For example, we are entitled to refuse your freedom of information request if that will cost the council more than £450. This is set out in section 12 of the Freedom of Information Act 2000. And should the threshold be exceeded and we can't respond to the freedom of information request, you can then ask us to review that decision not to respond. Then if you're not satisfied with that response, you can complain or appeal to the Information Commissioner. Without wishing to be overly technical and pedantic about the request, that legislation gives you an entitlement to information rather than documents. So the information requested may consist of a whole document or sequence of documents. And I should also make you aware that it may be the case that some of that information which you're requesting doesn't exist, might not currently exist, for example. So it may have to be recreated, it might have to be reconstructed, located and merged from multiple different sources. It may be held in the form of different document types. It may be located on different servers, which will take council officers longer to access. So I guess the reason I'm telling you all this is that it will obviously have a bearing on the way in which that information is disclosed. West Berkshire Council is required to create new information in order to answer a request, even if this can be easily done from other information which we hold. Depending on where we get to with a freedom of information request, if you make one, because I appreciate you haven't yet made one, we will of course provide you with advice and assistance to help understand where that information may be held by us. And finally, I apologise for speaking for so long, where we refuse a freedom of information request, the Information Tribunal is responsible for hearing appeals under the Freedom of Information Act and also the Data Protection Act 2018. That tribunal is a panel composed of a chairman and a deputy chairman along with 2 lay members, all appointed by the Lord Chancellor. Either party has 28 calendar days after receiving an Information Commissioner decision notice in which to lodge an appeal. Appeals may be decided either by written or oral hearings. Thank you very much for bearing with me. I know that was a long answer. Do you have a supplementary question?
Do you honestly expect me to have one supplementary question on all that spiel?
I'm afraid I do, because that's our constitution, Mrs. Saunderson.
You weren't quoting from the Constitution all the time. I will go home, listen to the answer again and consider what action I take. But it might be that I can send you a little spreadsheet and then you just have to interrogate your purchase ledger and put in a few totals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Saunderson. I go to question B. Is Mr. Allen in the waiting area? Mr. Chiverton?
He is, Chair.
Then we put his question to the portfolio holder for Environment and Highways. That's Councillor Stuart Gawley. Councillor Gawley, over to you on this one, please.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Allen, for your question, and it's a great question to ask. The council's position is that any household demonstrating a genuine and evidence need for additional black bin capacity will be supported. I'd also like to take the opportunity to reassure residents that where a clear and evidence need exists, additional capacity is being provided. So far this year, a further 467 households have received either an additional or larger black bin compared to the 263 issued during the whole of 24-25. In many cases, residents are first offered advice on reducing wastes and making full use of recycling options before extra capacity is granted. This approach helps us meet our wider goals of reducing waste and increasing recycling, while ensuring no one with a legitimate need is left behind. We are continuing to provide standard size bins, which is 240 litres, that are bigger than other councils who have adopted free weekly collections, with some providing 120 litre bins for free weekly collections. And this demonstrates our commitment to supporting those with unavoidable non-recyclable waste. Also, alongside the extra capacity request that has been approved and issued, we also offer an unlimited recycling container request as well, and in turn have seen over 36,000 containers shipped up to September this year, which is significantly more than the full 12 months of 2024. And this again shows that there is support available for our residents during this change. On top of the recycling containers, we also have sent out a significant number of food caddies this year, and our data shows that since the change in frequency was communicated earlier in the year, we're now collecting over 20 tonnes more of food waste per week than pre-communication, demonstrating that residents are getting behind this change and doing their bit in recycling as much as they can. And for that, I really thank residents for doing so. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. Thank you for your answer, Councillor. It would just be a very simple one that if larger bins are the answer, then why is it that several families have come to us saying that, so large families and some with disabilities have said that their request for a larger black bin has been denied by the council?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know the specifics of each of those cases, but I'm more than happy for you to send me those details, and I will gladly have a look at that with officers, to understand exactly what was behind those requests and whether any of those have been turned down inadvertently by mistake. And if they are eligible, then absolutely happy to make that right. Like I said, so far we've already sent out 467 households and supported those with extra capacity and larger bins. So more than happy for you to send me those details over, Mr. Allen, and happy to take a look at it.
Thank you, Councillor. I will do.
Thank you, Councillor Gawley. The next one is for you as well. C, from Mr. Hoddinott. Is it Hoddinott or Hoddino? Thank you. The T is not silent. Did you want to come forward to the lectern? And you're asking this question to Councillor Gawley. Over to you, Councillor Gawley.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Hoddinott, for the question. Officers have raised these questions through their contacts at the Environment Agency, and we will continue to follow up with those contacts and ensure that we get an answer to your question or your query. But I'm also happy to make those representations directly with DEFRA as well on your topic. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, the question was, make representations to the LGA and the ADA. In the past, I've made representations to the LGA personally, and they said they will only accept representations from their members, that is the council. I have been on this with central government since 2016, and I can give you, I'd just like to know who is the representation, who represents the council on the LGA and the ADA.
So absolutely happy to pick up that cause and lobby DEFRA and the LGA. I believe we have 3 council representatives that sit on the LGA, and I will remember who they are. I think they're the leader of the opposition, and possibly another member of the ruling group. So I will have to look that up to double check, but happy to pass over your concerns to them and ask them to raise that with the LGA. And like I said, I'll pick it up with DEFRA and the EA again as well.
Okay, we move to question D. This is the portfolio holder for Environment and Highways, so Councillor Gawley again by Mr. John Goatley.
Thank you, Mr. Goatley, for your question. Always happy to talk about the work that we're doing on speed restrictions and accident reduction works across West Berkshire. It's such a critical part of what the council does. The council has traditionally had an accident reduction budget which is aimed at tackling accidents and other related accident types. Speed or excessive speed is not always a factor in those changes. I'd like to take the opportunity to raise the fact that we are doing some work around speed reduction, and the speed reduction budget itself represents a new investment by this Liberal Democrat administration in the rollout of 20-mile-an-hour zones in our towns and our villages and across West Berkshire, which I'm sure will be welcomed in these communities. We will shortly be going to consultation on the Thatcham schemes and then rolling out 3 further geographical areas for consultation on 20-mile-an-hour zones over the next couple of months. And what's really good is that recent data from the reductions in speed in Wales have shown to lead to 100 less road deaths in the first year of operation. Admittedly, whilst our approach is different to that in Wales, and I'm happy to remind residents of that, I am sure and remain focused on delivering these schemes where residents want them, and I'm confident that they will benefit the community as much, if not more. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, please. Thank you for your answer, by the way. Very comprehensive. Doesn't it rather suggest splitting it that way, that speed reduction doesn't actually have much to do with safety?
No, I think it's really important to highlight that there are many accident causes. Speed is not necessarily one of them, although it can be a contributing factor. I would disagree that we've split the budget and salami sliced it, as you kind of say, because the 20-mile-an-hour rollout project is a specific project. So we've ring-fenced that cash just for that particular change. And I think I quoted there some data from the BBC, so a reputable media source, that shows that actually reducing those speed limits and introducing 20-mile-an-hour zones has reduced their road deaths by 100, which I think is excellent. If reducing speed or implementing any accident reduction measure saves one life, then I would say it's money well spent. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goatley. Question E was the question submitted to the portfolio holder for Culture, Leisure, Sport and Countryside by Simon Pike, councillor in Thatcham Town Council. I understand, Sadie, there's a written response for this one. We'll do just the written response then. Thank you. Question F, I believe, is also requested a written response from Phoebe Cowig.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Question G, is Mr. Morgan in the waiting room? Do you know?
Yes, Chair, he's here.
Then we will be, and we've got this question again to the portfolio holder for Environment and Highways from Mr. Morgan, question G. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan, for your question, and quite happily to talk about this because I appreciate it is a large investment on behalf of the council and the residents of West Berkshire, but I'm confident that it delivers on investing for our future as a green district. At its meeting on the 25th of July 2024, the executive gave delegated authority to the Service Director for Environment to award a contract for the construction of the scheme subject to the approval of the Council Section 151 officer and the portfolio holder for Environment and Highways. Graiseley Solar Farm will be an excellent addition to our council assets and will offer a significant contribution in our commitment to reach net zero by 2030, whilst bringing in a healthy income to the council to support essential services. We've already started some groundwork on the site and look forward to bringing this scheme forward in the coming months and delivering for our residents of West Berkshire. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So just to be clear, so basically you're saying it was, in answer to the question, it was approved, it was signed off and approved on the 25th of July 2024, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the supplementary then, is it, Mr. Morgan?
No, it's not my supplementary. I'm just clarifying the answer.
I have the
that's all.
supplementary, please.
Okay, my supplementary. I'm very pleased, Mr. Brooks, you're talking a lot about transparency tonight, so that's really good, especially as that supports your manifesto pledge of transparency, accountability, and
Get a question, Mr. Morgan, please.
My question is, can we have a copy of the EX report that was actually signed off by the executive, please? I'll give you an example. For example, on item 9 tonight,
Hold on. I don't need the example. You've asked for a report.
Yes,
That report is in the public domain. We can send it to you, but I'm sure there are ways you could probably discover it yourself, aren't there?
It's not, Mr. Brooks.
You mute, Mr. Morgan, please. Sorry, we're just digesting this, Mr. Morgan. Can I just check with you, Nikki, that these reports, they are in the public domain, are they not?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I can confirm that any reports that have come to either the Executive or Council are published on our website. If you go on to our website, you should be able to search by the decision number. If you've got any difficulties, do contact Democratic Services and we can assist with that.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I'll move on to the next question. That's question H. This one is from Mr. Pearce. It's submitted to the portfolio holder for community engagement, economic development and regeneration, and devolution and local government reorganisation. That's you again, Councillor Pemberton. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your question, Mr. Pearce. Whilst council officers are not currently working on the specific questions posed here, I can confirm that drainage and sustainable drainage will form a key part of the Bond Riverside regeneration programme. Do you have a supplementary?
Would you like to switch your microphone on, please, Mr. Pearce?
Sorry. I'm disappointed to hear that they're not specifically being done, and I was on the understanding that they would be done. At a meeting the other day, I understand that the cost of doing those.
Is that your question, the cost of doing them?
I understand the cost of doing them. You haven't answered the question of, have you been for costings on them?
Question?
No, that's a clarification.
Can we have your question?
Yes,
please?
sorry, I'm not. Can we have clarification of, have you asked for costings of these?
So, Mr. Pearce, I would have to sort of respectfully point out to you that we've discussed these kind of issues relating to Bond Riverside multiple times. I know that you've been in contact with our officers. We've discussed these issues in depth at various different times, and I'm struggling to add anything else to the central premise that as individual development programmes come on board, we will consider the situation and decide next steps at that point. I really cannot add much more to that. I really can't. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Pearce. I'll move on to question I. The question, this one is Mr. Garvey in the waiting room at all, Mr. Chiverton?
So yes, Chair, I'm just promoting it now.
Okay, so this is to, actually, this is new, Nigel, the portfolio holder for culture, leisure, sport and countryside by Mr. Garvey. Question I.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much, Mr.
We've got the question. Thank you, Mr. Garvey.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. The report confirms this initiative is a priority and a manifesto pledge for this administration. We feel that is sufficient. Do you have a supplementary question, please?
I do, Councillor Foot. Just a quick point of order on something.
No, a question, please, Mr. Garvey.
Councillor Forrest, it's important. The question, the statement that you made earlier about the adult social care, all I was going to say is if the council could in future make the topic available.
No, Mr. Garvey.
In the agenda so we can ask questions.
You, Mr. Garvey.
Otherwise,
please mute Mr. Garvey. Now, Mr. Garvey, I try to be helpful to people, members of the public, but I'm trying to manage a meeting as well. And I really want you to stay with the process that is within the Constitution. You ask a question, we answer it. we invite you to ask a supplementary. We don't invite you to make any points before the supplementary question. And I'm trying to manage a meeting. I have 27 questions to get through from the public, and I'm only on question I at the moment. So, Mr. Garvey, I'm going to unmute you now and ask you to put your supplementary question, please.
My supplementary question, it's hard to ask a supplementary question when the original question isn't answered. My supplementary question would be, the council proposed to deliver a community sports stadium that is equal to or better than what was lost under the previous Conservative administration. The proposal here tonight relates to the delivery of a 4G pitch, not a community sports stadium. So is there a detailed project plan in place for the delivery of a community sports stadium? And will the council allow expressions of interest from community groups such as the football club in every town and community sports groups to run the facility? Because the project proposal tonight...
I'm going to have to mute you again. I'm going to have to mute you again. I'm ever so sorry. It seems so rude to do it, but I'm trying to manage a meeting. And what you've done is you've come in with a supplementary that really doesn't relate to your substantive question. And I'm not going to therefore ask the portfolio holder to respond to it. I'm moving on. Question J is to Councillor Pemberton, the portfolio holder for community engagement, economic development and regeneration and devolution and local government reorganisation. This is from Mrs. Saunderson.
Yeah, the question just needs a yes or no.
Well, we'll do our best. Councillor
yes or no.
Pemberton.
I can probably do better than that, Miss Saunderson. Sorry?
So
Sorry,
I'm trying to
am I
manage
answering
the
the question
meeting.
or you? Am I answering the question or are you answering the question?
Back to you, Councillor Pemberton.
An estate-wide environmental study has not been conducted. As and when individual leaseholders come forward with future regeneration proposals that require planning permission, applicants will be expected to provide reports confirming environmental ground conditions due to the area's established land use as an industrial estate, as well as the estate's proximity to the river. It should be noted that significant sections of Bond Riverside are already recorded on the council's environmental health interactive map as being potentially contaminated due to historic landfill. This information reinforces the need for appropriate ground investigations at planning stage to confirm environmental ground conditions and whether ground remediation is required as part of any planning consent. Do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you.
Okay. Yes, we're down to 5 minutes. Are we 5:38? I'm trying to see that on the screen up there. So question K is to the portfolio holder for environment and highways. This is by Mr. Allen. Over to you, Stuart Gawley.
Thank you, Mr. Allen, for your question. There are many sources of flooding, and depending on the source of the flooding, will depend on who the flood risk authority is. So, for instance, for main rivers such as the River Lambourne, it's the Environment Agency, and they will be responsible for delivering flood risk schemes to mitigate flooding here, such as the one you mentioned at Great Shefford. Following the flooding in early 2024, the council undertook a review under the Section 19 of the Flood and Water Management Act and all of the locations that experienced flooding. Many of these are rural and where the council is responsible, actions have been added to the programme of works which the drainage and flood risk team are working through. And the Section 19 report can be found on the council's website. I'd also add that we increased the flood risk and drainage budget this administration this year by almost £1 million, which is over double what it previously was. So I'm confident that we've got a good record on looking after our flood risk, and I would only urge the current government, the current Labour government, to match us in that ambition and support local councils to deliver on the ground for residents. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, just a terribly quick one, just to save time. If there is any more anti-flooding infrastructure taken, can you just quickly tell me yes or no if parish councils will be made to pay for it, or if the burden will be taken by West Berks or an outside authority?
We would work in conjunction with flood risk management authorities to understand what that funding is, and we would look to source that funding initially from say someone like the Environment Agency or the Coastal Risk Management. I can't remember the full name, but there's a board that look at funding for our Thames Valley region. Coastal Committee, that's the one. So we would work with them to understand what funding was available. But until those projects come forward, I don't think we can really comment what we would ask and what we wouldn't. Some parish councils are happy to support. I think residents of Great Shefford, if I remember correctly, did an excellent job of fundraising to match fund what the Environment Agency put in for their Great Shefford scheme. But obviously, I would ask the government to put in more, because do I think it's necessarily right that parish councils have to bear the brunt of the cost? Absolutely not. I would demand the Labour government do more, do it quicker, do it faster with more money. So thank you for your question.
Thank
you. Mr. Hoddinott, you're up again on question L, I believe. It's all right. We'll take it without you having to get up. I'll take it straight to you again, please, Stuart Gawley.
Yes. So, Mr. Hoddinott, thank you for your question. The council does have a revenue budget for its duties as lead local flood authority. This mainly pays for staff time, and a small consultancy works budget for investigations and routine maintenance work on council assets, such as trash screens and so on. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes.
Microphone, please, Mr. Hoddinott. Sorry.
Do your budgets for this year and next year then reflect the extra costs of maintaining the flood alleviation scheme at Thatcham?
Yes, they do, and they will do going forward, as that's a fixed asset.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. We have question M. I think it's Mr. Goatley. Mr. Goatley, thank you for your question. And I will take it on behalf of Councillor Cottingham, the Finance and Resources Portfolio Holder. Those services that you refer to within your question, such as adult social care and SEND, would be protected. A local authority in the United Kingdom cannot go bankrupt in the legal sense, as insolvency law does not apply. A Section 114 notice is a formal report issued by a local council's chief finance officer, the Section 151 officer, stating that the authority's projected spending will exceed its available income and resources for the financial year, meaning it's likely to incur unlawful expenditure. The notice imposes strict controls on new spending, allowing only essential spending on statutory services like safeguarding vulnerable people. Payments for goods and services already received, and existing payroll and pension costs. Any new expenditure outside these parameters would be authorised on a case-by-case basis by the Section 151 officer. Council leaders must then meet within 21 days to address the financial situation and find a way to bring the budget back into balance. In Slough, where commissioners and a new CEO were appointed in 2021, residents were assured, we will still be collecting your bins next week, safeguarding the most vulnerable in our town, maintaining the roads and supporting the schools. And that is what has happened. I meet Councillor Dexter Smith regularly, the leader of Slough Borough Council, and he tells me how it's worked out there. Now, in West Berkshire, I am confident that the steps we are taking to manage our budget, with some extra financial support from the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, MHCLG, will mean that the risk of a Section 114 notice being issued is very small indeed, subject to some unforeseen event, of course, a pandemic might refer, but I'm confident that we have the right 3-year financial plan in place to get the council back to good financial health. It was not in good financial health when we took over. It probably wasn't in the last couple of years of the previous administration. That is not a dig at the previous administration before Councillor Bowick gets himself aerated. It is a case of where we are. And we intend over the next 3 years not to have to continue or further rely on any MHCLG support. We expect to continue to deliver very good services and provide new facilities in sport and leisure, for instance, and you'll hear one of those again tonight, to maintain a school's building and refurbishment programme, and to transform assets such as Walnut Close to reduce cost and prevent residents being in bed and breakfast accommodation. I don't want anyone listening or observing to think that this council is close to issuing a Section 114 notice. It is not. Do you have a supplementary?
You'll be delighted to know I don't, but thank you for a very interesting answer.
And I believe we are now at 32 minutes or thereabouts, so we will bring the public question to a close. Sadly, we've only got through to M, so that's 13 we managed to answer in the 30 minutes. That means that there are 27? There are at least 14 that we haven't been able to answer. And I say again to the people who wish to answer questions, you do not have to wait for a public meeting. You can write these questions into a portfolio holder at any time. So the need, if you feel a need to make it a public question, you might like to consider what the public interest is, because we are prepared and happy to give information which is reasonable, and we're prepared to do it at any time. Some of you may be a bit frustrated tonight that we haven't got beyond question M. That is unfortunate, but that is where we are. Thank you for your interest, though, and we'll persevere. We move on then, I think, to the item, one of which is a petition. Nikki Thomas, is there any petitions? Sadie Owen.
Yes, we're expecting a petition from Councillor Clive Taylor.
Councillor Taylor.
Typically, my phone dies. I'm presenting this petition on behalf of Unison, calling to stop the closure of the 3 local day centres, Phoenix, Hungerford and Greenfield. But I didn't expect to be in what is probably the unique position of presenting a petition where precisely what the petition is calling for has been conceded almost immediately before it is submitted. So thank you, Councillor Clark and the executive for your decision, but I will still formally present this petition, which calls for exactly what you have just done today. And I would just say that perhaps with some forethought and listening to those on the opposition and minority group benches, and by listening to our loyal staff and Unison, this could have all been avoided. The past 6 months have caused much distress to our staff and to the users and families of the users of these three vital day centres. But in presenting this petition, I recognise that at the end of the day, we've come to the right decision. And for that, I and many others, including those that have signed this petition, and there are many, many hundreds.
Are you nearly there? Because apparently, thank you.
I am very close to being there, and I would have finished by now had you not interrupted me. And I was going to say that those people that have signed it will be relieved with the decision that you have made today. I duly present this petition on behalf of Unison, which calls for the 3 centres to remain open as they are now. And
well, it might be history being made that that could be the fastest reaction to a petition. In fact, even before the petition is presented, that the petition achieves its objective. And that sounds a little bit flippant. I don't particularly mean to be. Thank you for the commentary. There are councils and I say this to staff, I can see you're cross with us. There are councils who would have done the work and carried on with the closure. We're prepared to do the work, realise it's not working, it won't work, and change our mind. I apologised earlier, so did Councillor Clark, that we needed to analyse this, and I've given you assurances it won't, and Councillor Clark has given you assurances it won't be closed. And I hope you, while you're cross with us, consider that we are prepared. When the facts say don't do something, we don't do it. Thank you very much. Okay, and we get on to the main reports this evening. And the first one up is Councillor Clark with item 7, page 27 of the paperwork. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark, will you introduce this? It's a noted item, so we're not looking for a proposer or seconder. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Adult social care provides a vital service for people in West Berkshire, but unless you or someone you know needs that service, you are unlikely to be aware of all the work that you have done. This is why I am really excited to present the Adult Social Care Annual Report 2024 to 2025, which showcases the year of hard work and commitment that our officers and carers have made supporting the residents of West Berkshire who need our help. This report will be available on our website from tomorrow, and I encourage everyone to read it. It certainly isn't doom and gloom. We are helping the people who need help, and we are helping the people who give that help. This is not just about short-term care, but also long-term care, where we have helped 2,455 individuals, which is an increase of almost 2% from the year before. And the longer people can enjoy their lives, the longer we will continue to support them. 81% of people with learning disabilities are in settled accommodation. This means that they are living happily with family or in supported living. We have plans in place to improve our services further, but in the meantime, we continue to provide something for those who need it. We have supported 1,332 referrals from hospital. This is a 6% increase from the year before, meaning that people can get back to living their lives as quickly as possible in their own homes following often major health issues. We know we can always do more, and there will be individual cases where we need to look again at the work that we are doing and think about how we can make it better. 93% of the people we surveyed said that our care and support services help them have a better quality of life. This is the stuff that's important to us. 75% of people who used our services felt they had control over their daily life. This is the stuff that's important to us. 96% of safeguarding investigations have led to risks for individuals being reduced or removed entirely. This is important to us. Costs are going up, in part because of the quality and quantity of the services we are providing, and because people are living longer. We will continue to support those people who are providing care for their loved ones. Please do look on our website at the report.
Great for two. Are there any other comments from the executive members? I think it's a well-written report. It's well laid out. It's doesn't need to be 200 pages to get its point across. And I think it does it pretty well. Anything from the other side of the chamber? Councillor Bowe.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Clark. Demand is rising sharply. How sustainable are your present staffing levels?
We can always do more. I think, you know, we could always do with more staff, undeniably. But I can't. But it costs money. We need to balance it out.
We are getting caseloads down. We are managing to recruit more permanent social workers rather than a peripatetic freelance cohort. I hope that's helped. Can I move on? Do I have any other? You want to come back?
No, another question. Nearly half of the £10.7 million council-wide savings are assessed as being in doubt. how confident are you that that savings won't undermine the levels of service that you deliver?
I'm not really too sure actually how to answer that question. We have to, well, wait, bear with me. 6. The important point is that we continue to analyse and look at where the savings are being made. We have to take them on a case-by-case basis.
I think I'd add to that, and that we've got to transform some of the services as well. We talk about AI, but you know that we've introduced Magic Notes, which helps the social care workers with their note taking, saves them hours and hours and hours of time in a week that can be redeployed. So the assurance we can give you is that we're going to keep trying to make the service ever more efficient and to maintain the quality, if not improve it when we can. Have we got any other questions? The last one, I think. Yeah.
Well, could I just come back? You've raised the point about Magic Notes, which I wasn't going to ask a question on, but if I could, and then I have one more question.
Well, the Magic Notes, I think, related to the question you just asked.
Okay, but I have a question around Magic. How are you evaluating the effectiveness of things like Magic Notes and robotic pets?
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. Mr. Coe is nodding. I know that the transformation portfolio holder is here as well, who may want to come back on this as well. Mr. Coe.
Thank you. We undertook a brief pilot phase before we committed to a larger number of commissioning Magic Notes. What we were seeing very clearly was the people using it were saying, we are saving time. This is saving administration time. One of the things that came out very loudly was job satisfaction, where people were saying, I'm now able to do the things that I came into the profession to do, spending time with people, making good decisions, rather than clacking away at a typewriter, at a keyboard. So there's something in there. Councillor Clark and myself were out visiting teams this afternoon around Market Street, and there was a pretty from a team that had plenty of things that they wanted to improve. It was a pretty loud chorus of approval for Magic Notes in terms of this is helping us do what we want to do, what we should be doing, rather than other things. I think there's a big question in there about efficiency. So the data broadly collected from other local authorities talks about 8 hours a week for a single practitioner. Obviously multiplied across lots of workers and lots of teams, that's not an insignificant amount. We'll keep testing that number. It's a credible number based on what we're seeing at the moment.
Oh, great, thank you. Hang on. I think Councillor Paul may want to add. And Councillor Paul, I think we also, did we not adapt processes we found so that our officers could get internet access outside of having a VPN connection? You might want to say how we put that right as well, because that was foolish. It was foolish process that we put right. Over to you, Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Leader. And thank you, Councillor Borg, for that question. It's actually really nice to get questions on some of the transformation projects in this forum. So there are a couple of things to note here. And you mentioned about the pets, the comfort pets. No one can really put a value on the impact that something like that can have to your mental health. And a lot of those comfort pets, they are going out to very vulnerable people who do find a lot of comfort in that. And I'm sure that I haven't seen the details, but I'm sure it's within the adult social care team where people feel more comforted just by having that pet with them. On a Magic Notes perspective, we do actually have 2 AI algorithms that allow us to be able to capture notes. One is Magic Notes, which is specific for the casework team within adult social care, and I believe it's moving into children's social care as well. But the other item is Minute, and Minute is used. West Berkshire Council is very proud to be one of the betas that are using this, that allows most operations across the council to be able to take minutes more effectively. It's a very low cost solution that's been trialled out by central government, and it's a central government app. It's not an independent app. And when we're looking at the details, our digital manager, who was pulling out some details for me for the last corporate programme board, it's saving swathes of time, which is making our officers far more efficient, which means that they're spending more time at the front end, spending time with members of the public, which is exactly what we need them to be doing. And the last comment, which the leader has asked me to, excuse me, my cold this year has started early. The last comment which the leader has asked me to speak to is internet use. Now, going out into the field, some of the officers that we had were taking notes, doing written notes, and then coming back to the officers and spending hours writing up notes and what was said. With the adaptation of Minute and Magic Notes, it needs to have internet access. So we've changed the protocols there to allow the devices to be able to record, which means by the time the officer gets back into the office, they've got the bare bones of their notes. In large cases, the majority of the portal is already there, and it just speeds up the process. Now, one of the comments which I will give you, sir, when I was doing a project review, which was before the project had gone through or completed going through the corporate programme board, one of the officers there who was in the adult social care team said, this is actually now going to be one of my standard questions. Should I ever leave West Berkshire Council is, do you have magic notes? So if that's one of their questions that they're giving to a councillor halfway through a project, it's only a fraction of the impact that it's making to their day-to-day life. Thank you very much, sir.
So, Councillor Burke, you said you had one more.
I did one more, and I think we appreciate this question, Lydia, in the context of the discussions that the points we were talking about earlier on with the resource centres and so on. From the report, it's clear that carers' assessments continue to be backlogged. So, my question is, when are all our carers going to get timely support?
If I pass over to okay.
I think if you let Mr. Coe speak and then wrap the item, the question, Mr. Clark.
Another innovation that has just come on stream very recently is an online assessment where people can tell us in a convenient way their caring, what they're doing as a carer and the impact it's having on their lives. And we tested the platform with carers. So they've told us what is a good way to capture our needs online, and we've built something that reflects that. We've used central government money for this. This was the Accelerating Reform Fund. So it's been government money spent on building something, a solution, together with the people who are going to use it.
Thank you. Councillor Marsh.
Yes, I'll be brief. Thank you for the report, Councillor Clark, and I agree with the council leader. It's an excellent report. And in a way, you've already answered my question, because having given us the good news about the resource centres, I did ask about the future of the care homes, and you said that's being considered, which I accept. However, just for clarity, we think that we're hoping that you reach the same conclusion, that it is not consistent with providing the level of service that's provided with privatising or contracting out these services. And we very much hope that you will conclude that they should remain run by the local authority, which we feel strongly is the most appropriate.
Is that your question or plea, or?
It's a plea, but I think, to be fair to Councillor Clark, he did already answer the question, so I have nothing further to ask.
You just wanted to, echo it sort of thing, or
well, I just wanted to put a little bit more meat on the bones for Councillor Clark's benefit, Councillor Leader.
Mr. Clark, Councillor Clark's coming back. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. Noted. I think the important thing on everything we do is that it continues to be evidence-based. And as we continue to look at the care homes and the provision of services there, we'll keep you posted. But thank you very much for your thoughts.
So, members, I don't need a show of hands on this. Thank you for the report, Councillor Clark. On item 8, though, I'm moving on to section 20 payment policy. I do need a proposer for this. Do I have one? Councillor Codling, thank you. Do I have a seconder for this payment policy? Thank you, Councillor Pemberton. Over to you then to introduce it, please, Councillor Codling.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, Section 20 of the Children's Act is actually the voluntary arrangement for children who cannot live with their parents and they go into care. This could be through disability, illness, whatever. The Children's Act 1989 also states that they, the council, shall consider whether they should recover contributions towards the child's maintenance from any person liable to contribute. This policy, therefore, we're bringing forward is to ensure that the council is compliant with this legislation. It isn't absolutely essential, but we feel it is good practice. The policy will help staff to follow the correct procedures and to see if it is reasonable if parents and guardians can contribute towards the care of their child. This intends to promote parental responsibility and an active involvement in the care of their child, even when the child is accommodated by West Berks Council. This then becomes a partnership. I understand that a number of other local authorities have already brought this in and more are doing so. And any contributions would be based on the family's financial circumstances. I don't see from talking with colleagues in children's services that it's likely to be happening very often, but there are occasions when families can contribute and actually are quite happy to, but this is a correct procedure. The details laid out in the report about how that would happen. And I'm pleased that this is coming forward. It protects the council, but it's not going to bring in huge amounts of money or anything. And it's not going to penalise families particularly. And that's the important bit. It's only those that really can afford to do this. And before I finish, just before Councillor Bowick points it out, in 5.7 on page 52, there is a word that needs correcting. And it says, therefore, this is not an area instead of a where. So it's just a correction for you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Councillor Pemberton, anything to add now or later? Up to you, sir.
I can reserve my right to speak
Thank
if
you.
you prefer.
Yes, you certainly can. I'll bring you back a bit later. Any other comments? I'll go across the chamber. Councillor Bowick.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Codling. Interesting report. I take your point that only people who can afford will be asked to, and that's a judgment that council's going to take. Doesn't mean to say they're going to be thrilled with the prospect. And I want to know how you're going to ensure that calling for parental contributions will not deter families from seeking early help.
I can't guarantee that, but obviously that is something we would try and avoid. This presumably, if a child comes into our care, I would expect us to take that child, look after them, and it would only be a discussion latterly. It wouldn't come before the child coming into care. And as I say, I think this is going to be a very, very small number if we ever have to charge.
Okay. Okay. Your microphone.
Thank you. Sorry. There are discretionary decisions to be made that this report is calling for. And what safeguards will you put in place to make sure that the decisions are fair and consistent?
Are you okay?
Yeah, it will very much depend on individual family circumstances. And I trust our social workers and our staff to be professional about this. I don't think it would, we don't like that family, so we're going to charge them. I think they would be highly professional, and it would honestly only be those that really could afford it.
No safeguards then?
I think it's been answered. And I certainly think you'd say the same thing about the professionalism of our staff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll move on then.
But it doesn't mean to say that.
Well, you've had an answer. You note, hang on. You note that we have Anne-Marie Dodds and Heather conferring here a little, and that's perfectly reasonable. Did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, it would be very much not anything to do with early help. That the families would still come to us for that. This would be those parents that just don't want to have to look after their children.
And to Councillor Pemberton, did you have anything to add as seconder before I wrap this?
I did, thank you, Leader. Look, I hear the points that you're making, Councillor Bowick. When this council becomes aware of any vulnerable child or potentially vulnerable child, this council's first priority is that child's safety and welfare, not potentially how much we are or are not going to charge the parents of that child per week, per month to help look after them. As to the principle of that contribution and whether or not we should be asking for it, as Councillor Codling has correctly pointed out, before a child becomes known to us, the likelihood is there will have been a significant amount of early intervention, whether that's childcare plans, whether that's child in need plans, whether that's other social worker involvement. It's going to be extremely rare to find a situation where all of a sudden on a Friday afternoon, child X presents his or herself in our council offices and we've hitherto never heard anything about them. That to me seems extremely unlikely. There are plenty of safeguards built into this policy. There is criteria which sets out which families will and will not be charged. And I think we should also remember as well that Section 20 is a voluntary arrangement between that child's parents and the council. And there may be other avenues that we can look at to keep those costs down once that child becomes looked after. For example, family and friends, can they step into the breach and help? Maybe they can, maybe they can't. If that can't happen and the child has to go into foster care or a residential care home, there is a cost associated with that. And I do not think it's unreasonable, in the right circumstances, with the right safeguards, for this council to ask for a modest contribution when it's no secret that child and care costs have spiralled in recent years.
Thank you for that. Members, we're being asked to support this, obviously. All those in favour on the executive benches? I think that was everybody. Thank you very much. Item 9, and I note some people from the Newbury Football Community Group and Newbury Football Club community here. I welcome you. Nick, Lee, good to see you. This is the Faraday Road football pitch. We'll need a proposer. That will be you, I feel sure. Councillor Foot, I'll second this. And I believe you're going to introduce the report. Councillor Foot.
Yes, thank you very much, Leader. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce this item to the Executive, reporting on the feasibility study and outline business case for a 100 by 64 metre 3G artificial grass pitch at Faraday Road. The reintroduction of football at the Faraday Road football ground in Newbury was a key manifesto pledge for the Liberal Democrats in the 2023 local elections, and we're proud to have delivered on that promise. Faraday Road had been the home of Newbury Town Football Club from 1963 until 2018, when the club was evicted by the then Tory-run administration of West Berkshire Council. Having struggled to survive, the club has been reborn in the form of a new Newbury Town club and began playing competitive matches at Faraday Road last year, fulfilling our Liberal Democrat manifesto pledge. For this season, the first 3 home games of Newbury Town FC have attracted crowds of an average of about 290 fans for each game. Not bad for a club starting from ground zero. And I recommend anyone to go along and watch the teams when they're playing at home. Kick-off is usually at 2 o'clock. Since the ground returned to being a functioning football pitch in November 2023, it has hosted not just the Newbury Town senior men's matches, but the Newbury ladies team has played there and many youth team matches such as CSA 07, who have an age range of under 7s up to under 18s, and AFC Newbury with young people from 6 years up to 18 years. These matches are played on Sundays, and in fact, to date, there have been more youth team matches played on Faraday Road than senior fixtures. The vagaries of the weather have been evident over the time the ground has been in service. Heavy rain can lead to the grass surface needing to be handled with care and not to be overplayed, while exceptionally dry weather, such as we've had this summer, can mean the playing surface is so hard it's unsafe for matches. Consequently, these days, 3G artificial grass surfaces are the preferred Football Association and Football Foundation option for football pitches, as they can be played all year round, whatever the weather, and if properly maintained, can give good service for at least 10 years. The recent Director of Public Health's report for our district has identified the need to increase levels of physical activity in our young people and for adults to continue to remain active in order to prevent illness, both physical and mental. One of the main barriers to increasing physical activity is lack of facilities. A new 3G pitch at Faraday Road, owned by West Berkshire Council, will provide an excellent such facility. It is away from residential housing, in a location that is very accessible to the town centre, with the railway station and bus station within easy walking distance and ample car parking nearby. The feasibility report highlights the proximity of the River Kennet, a site of special scientific interest, and so the consultants have factored into the costs for the pitch high levels of drainage protection for the river, and also the need for careful design of floodlights so they do not adversely affect local biodiversity. This administration is committed to sustainable development that respects biodiversity, and so we will ensure these safeguards will be built into the project. In conclusion, Chair, I wholeheartedly endorse this report and recommend its acceptance to the committee. The Council has chosen to fund this project itself because we're keen to fast-track the project and to keep other grant funding available for other 3G pitches in the district where the playing pitch strategy will identify a need. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Councillor Gawley indicating, yeah.
Yes, I'd just like to say, as a ward member for Clay Hill, returning football to Faraday Road has been a long-standing campaign, not just from us as Liberal Democrats, but also from the NCFG and local residents. I think it's really important to highlight that sport and football is more than just a physical place. It is a community. And one of the things that has really resonated with me, having knocked on thousands of doors in Clay Hill over many, many years, is that community was ripped away by the previous administration. And I'm glad to see this next step in reintroducing that community and building on the great work that those that play, not just senior, but also youth and community football there. It's great to see the build on the offer and upgrading that, and I look forward to seeing it develop over the longer term. And it's also good to see the council sustainability tool with my slightly geeky portfolio hat on. It's great to see that. And again, I kind of echo Councillor Foot's comments around making sure we absolutely protect the environment in the build out of this. And that's why it's such a great location, because it means, it promotes active travel to and from the site, as well as protecting our wonderful watercourses around the area. And I think it's been quite clear that the best thing that we can do in that wider area is to develop tastefully and sustainably, and I'm assured that this will be the case. One thing I'd also finally add is thank you to Newbury Town Football Club for changing your colours to red and white this year, because as a proud Swindoner by birth, both my hometown of birth and my adopted town now have the same colours, so I can get away with wearing the same colour scarf. So thank you for making that happen, and I look forward to coming down and watching a game with my young boys in the near future.
Thank you, Councillor Gorney. I'll come back later with my seconding. Councillor Marsh has indicated, and Councillor Wallace. I'll take Councillor Marsh first, please.
A rare Pleasure. Thank you very much. Councillor Foote, thank you for the report. I know that you've worked very hard on this and with the town council as well as with the officers and members here. And not only because you're probably hoping to see West Ham one day play on this very ground in some sort of future cup tournament against Newbury, but I think this is really good news. I've been one of the people who's been supporting the various campaigns to get football back in Newbury since long before I was on the council, and I'm delighted by this. And hopefully it's bringing to an end the saga of trying to find completely unsuitable replacements in other parts of the town, including in my ward. So it's great. And hopefully we can put behind us some of the things that have caused so much conflict in past years. I've just got a couple of questions now. We're told about there's an ecology report. I can't see the report. Can we see the report at some point? It just says rather blandly, an ecology report has been prepared, and as has been said, there are bats and other protected species in and around the trees, so close to the Kenneth Naven there, and it would be reassuring to know that that's been taken into account. And bats aren't that keen on floodlights, so I think it's important that that is dealt with. Biodiversity net gain, the report refers to the difficulty of achieving this, but doesn't say it won't be achieved. It just would be useful to know how you see that. And it does mention perhaps nearby, so it would be good to know, particularly for the residents in that area, to know what exactly you're planning to do to deliver BNG in there. And then my only other question is about, you said about the grants. I mean, bearing in mind that the football group was very confident that when they put forward a similar scheme, that the FA, Sporting and other bodies would have money readily available. I take your point that you can still get the money for other aspects of the playing pitch strategy, but surely with it being the main ground in Newbury and the main ground in the district, there would be the possibility of getting money quickly. I don't see why it would be so long. So are you confident that you can't get money quickly from the FA or Sporting or some other group? That's my other question. Thank you.
Before I pass this back to Councillor Foote, we're agreeing the funding tonight. You know as well as I do, the planning application will look at ecology, we'll look at biodiversity net gain. In terms of the grants, and I'm sure Councillor Foote will say this as well, it's about pace. We were advised that it could take 12 to 18 months for grants to be progressed through any of those bodies you mentioned. And frankly, Newbury Town Centre needs a 3G football pitch. The playing pitch strategy, which will be coming through, has given us confidence that we're putting a 3G pitch in the right place, Councillor Marsh. So I really want to keep supporting this, and the business case is made in terms of finances. So that's an answer from me, but I'm going to pass it on to Councillor Foote, and then I've got Councillor Wollaston after that.
Thanks very much, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Marsh, for your questions. Councillor Brooks has actually, in a way, answered those first two questions, because there is actually a planning application that has been submitted already. And a lot of work has been done with our planning team here at West Berkshire to work through what were, if you like, preconditions for the expired planning application that was submitted by NCFG some time ago. So we're trying to get ahead of the game really on that. And as Councillor Brooks mentioned, the ecological impact assessments, biodiversity net gain, that will all form part of that planning application, and it is referenced in the consultant's report. And the final point about grants, as Councillor Brooks has mentioned, it's time, and also I believe that we get one big opportunity from Football Foundation, to fund a significant a significant grant input. Now, we're about to get the playing pitch strategy through the council. That's coming up fairly soon, and that will identify where 3G pitches in the district where we're short, and we would like to put our resources with regard to grant money into one of those areas. As Councillor Brooks has said, this is a flagship, if you like, for Newbury Town. We feel it's reasonable for the council to put the money in to that, and that's why we've elected to do it this way. Thank you.
Councillor Wollaston.
Thank you, Leader. Clearly, you had a major manifesto need to produce football back at Faraday Road, and we can't take that away from you. The cost is 8, though, by the time you include the closing down of the Monks Lane project, the amount of money you spent on producing a grass pitch, plus all the extra costs, plus now another 1.25 million, gets to close to £2 million. I really question whether that's good value for money. You're delivering a scheme with, as I understand it, no changing rooms apart from porta cabins, no clubhouse and no stands. It really is piecemeal development, isn't it? And you've done away with a scheme which was up and ready to go, which has been operating now. We're all agreed that we need a 3G pitch, absolutely 100% in Newbury. But why didn't you go for a 3G pitch right from day one, rather than faffing around with a rubbish old grass pitch?
Again, Councillor Foote will come back. In fact, why don't you, Councillor Foote, and then I'll pick up the remnants.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Wollaston. I think we have highlighted the fact that this was a deeply, deeply unpopular move for you to evict a perfectly healthy, functioning football ground from Faraday Road. And it was a key manifesto pledge. And I think, sir, to be respectful to you, I think that's probably why you're sitting over there in opposition and we're actually running the council. It was very, very unpopular. I think that with regard to costs, this is an important point that you raise. And I'd just like to remind you that the cost for the Monks Lane project in the Scrutiny Commission report was between, I think, off the top of my head, something like £214,000 to £219,000, which is money that could have been invested in the existing Faraday Road before it was trashed by the administration over there. And furthermore, there was £210,000, I think, that the council had to spend removing the debris from the burnt out clubhouse and, clearing the site so that it was basically a dog walking area. So I think, in effect, Councillor Wollaston, we're righting a wrong here, really. This is something that, was deeply unpopular. As I say, it was the wrong move. And I think rather like the community infrastructure levy issue, which I'm sure Councillor Brooks might mention, we feel that it is redressing something that was a fault by your administration.
I think what we're also doing, when you consider that you evicted the club in 2018, we got them back in 2024. We did it rapidly. So that club could start to regenerate, which it's doing. So I'm sorry you didn't like the grass pitch there. I think they did. They played football on it. And the people who played football on it enjoyed it. As quick as we can, we're now replacing that with the 3G pitch to get much more use out of it. We will be taking further investigation into that 6 years, when, having been so precipitate in throwing the club out, you forewent hundreds of £1,000s of fees you would have been collecting in that period. So we'll be doing a sort of balanced scorecard on what you lost in money, and while you're telling us about what we might have invested. I see you might want to come back.
Are you surprised? I think you're really trying to bring all sorts of stuff in there. Clearing the site after a burnt out clubhouse, no fault of ours whatsoever. It was arson. We all know that. Is completely irrelevant. More to the point, though, however, we had, as I said earlier, an oven-ready scheme ready to go which have produced a 3G pitch playable on now. Not 2 years' time, which is what it's like to be. By the time you've got planning, you've done all the pre-work and so forth, it'll be probably after the end of this administration. I wouldn't be surprised. But why, if Faraday Road is so important in your manifesto, did you not look at implementing the existing planning consent that was there? It's run out of time now, obviously. At the moment, you've got a scheme there which has got, let's say, no clubhouse. It's just a 3G pitch with some change rooms in a porta cabin. It's hardly an impressive scheme.
I'm letting you speak a bit, but I do want to move you towards a question.
Well, that is a question. Why did you not implement that previous consent? And also at the same time, if you started from day one with your administration, you could have got grants and Football Foundation by now.
I don't think we could, and I'll tell you why. The Football Association, Sport England would have said, where's your playing pitch strategy? Now, you keep referring back to your flagship scheme at Monks Lane, which frankly, with the Newbury Football Community Group and the footballers of Newbury was deeply unpopular. It's all very well, you can keep digging about your flagship scheme. It was deeply unpopular. So we put it right. We have righted a wrong. Do you want to come back about the other point? Thank you.
Yes, please. Thanks, Leader. Yes, to answer your point about the planning application, as was mentioned in the report, there were lots of preconditions in that old planning application. And what the new planning application has done is to address those at the outset. We've worked closely, as I said, with the planning team here. We've looked at a pre-application as well. So the planning application that is going to be going through is a much more robust one, I would say, than that previous one that was submitted. And I think, if I may, for the benefit of people that may be either in the chamber or watching online, it's worth remembering that your oven-ready scheme up at Monks Lane would not allow any club to progress up the football pyramid. So Faraday Road has the potential to go all the way from step 7 to step 4. Monks Lane, that was impossible to do. Furthermore, it was in a residential area. There were houses close by, and that isn't the case in Faraday Road. There are no residences close by, so the ground can expand. And I think that's a point worth making.
Need a point of order, please.
Please.
The Monks Lane scheme could go to step 4 without any problem. So
Okay.
try that one on, thank you.
Hang on. Members, this is a scheme that is good news. You may wish to disagree with that. I know, having spent a lot of time meeting with Lee and his team, what they want, what they need, and when they need it. And we have moved with real pace to deliver what they want. Now, yes, there are temporary buildings there at the moment. And yes, our phased approach will move towards a built environment. But the key thing was to get people playing football there to commit and show the residents of Newbury we were committing. We committed to grass, now we're committing to 3G. I think we've followed through on our commitments to date. And I don't think I need you to come back again. You've had several.
You might have some support here, so you might like to take my view.
Well, you're a fair-minded person.
I am.
So I'll give you another go.
I am delighted that football is coming back to Faraday Road, and on the basis that now Monks Lane is a non-starter, which it is, can never be rebuilt again. It's the only place in Newbury which can take a football ground. So from that point of view, I'm supportive. I just wish you got on with it earlier with the 3G pitch.
There was a feasibility study done that is in the paperwork regarding the drainage and the mitigation of any runoff. That had to be done. We've done that. We've worked our way through this. We've got a credible, costed pitch here. The residents, the council has a business case here that it will not cost money to the people of our district. Isn't it going to be great when we get a 3G pitch in our town? That's worth something. The only pitch that I think 3G full-size pitch we put in the last few years, 5 years or so, was Deanfield in the east. That's fine, good, well done. Newbury needs this facility. I'm delighted to support it and second it. Any other comments? I'm all in favour, please. Thank you very much indeed. Next item, members, is on page 119. Thank you. Now, this is the Q1 performance report. It did come to scrutiny last week. And so although you may want to unpick it a little bit, I will be mindful that it was done last week. I'm going to propose it's accepted. I'll go through its recommendations in a moment. Clearly, there may be some questions you have on the performance. Ambers, reds, we accept that. I have a seconder, please. Councillor Codling, thank you. So one thing I will say, and I would have said, certainly would have picked up with Councillor McKinnon, is this performance report is evolving in terms of its layout and the way it presents information. I think it has improved quite a lot already. And what I mean is by presentation, I'm talking about pages 131, where at a glance you can see those that are on track, those that there is less information or no information, those that are behind. We're making no secret of that. I think we're being extremely transparent, and we will continue to flag up these things in a way that not only us council sort of nerds can understand, but a member of the public could look at it and very quickly understand how we're doing. I think there's one or two we might want to clarify. I know Councillor Gawley on potholes, you want to come in on that. We note the recommendation made in the measures review report approved by the council on the 15th of May this year. We acknowledge that the local government outcomes framework, LGOF, LGOF, by the MHCLG has been, we've incorporated that into the performance reporting. That's new. We're reviewing our new set of high priority measures. There are 12 of those there in here. And the executive has deliberated to the adoption of these new high set of high priority measures. And, you know, I'm just bringing to your attention, not only is it giving the information, it's showing it in a refreshingly new way. As in your administration in the past, there will be areas that need to improve. There'll be areas in amber and areas in red. Very happy to flag those up. Before I come to the other side of the room, I'll ask Councillor Gawley to come in on one or two of yours, please.
Yeah, so one of the high priority measures was around obviously the permanent pothole repairs, and I know that's been tracking off for the last few quarters, mostly due to the poor weather over the winter and also supply chain challenges. But what's really great news is that through, I'm getting my months wrong now, aren't I? Through July, August and almost September, I'm not going to jinx it just yet, touching some wood, we've actually been clearing those at 100% success rate. So we are well on our way to bringing ourselves back on track. So hopefully we can make it through the next week without missing an SLA on one of those leader.
Thank you. I'm abashed to say that this one, the next two, the capital and revenue went to scrutiny. This one didn't. So I'll put that right. However, members, you have it there. Thank you for that clarification. Do I have questions from the other side of the chamber? Councillor Berwick.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for the report. Can the portfolio holder explain why so many projects repeatedly slip and how further delays will be prevented?
Can you be more specific, please?
Wait, do you want me to list them?
Can you be more specific?
Well, projects have been...
You've said continually slip. Can you give me an example, please?
Well, I've got to prove it. That's the question.
Sir, it's a reasonable question to come back to say, is there one in particular you'd like to draw our attention to? Because I'm not sure.
It's a question towards general project management, which I think is perfectly
I'm not
reasonable.
sure I accept the premise that projects are continually slipping, but I will say you're aware, I think, that we're not only centralising projects into a new project management office or a much enhanced project management office, with a new service lead on top of that project management office, because you've heard me say many times, and the portfolio holder for finance, we don't like capital slippage. We don't like project slipping. That's a broad answer to what was probably a broad question. Have you got another one?
I do have another question. Nearly half of the savings in the report are, no, I'm sorry. That's for the next one.
Do I have any others from the other side of the room?
Just one thing. This
Councillor Marsh.
The target, which I haven't seen before, and I may have missed it, but the 1,000 affordable homes. I mean, is that all? I mean, is that everything? Affordable social houses, social flats for rent from Sovereign, if they're doing that, which I'm not sure if they are, but they should be. Is that houses at the first phase of Sandalford that might be affordable? I mean, is that everything in every sector, and for rent and for sale, and including social as well as affordable?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I can give it a partial answer. I don't have our housing and planning portfolio holder in this evening. I don't see anybody from Place in the office of Cardray. My recollection is that we had already delivered 469 within the first couple of years. I think I said it in this chamber. We're a little bit behind on the completions in this first quarter, but I think we're going to catch up quite rapidly. I think your question is correct, that it includes all types of social and affordable housing. You heard me say in May, I believe we will get to the 1,000 and probably sooner than 2030. But as a more general point, despite the Labour government saying how many houses they're going to build, there's not enough houses being built. It's reducing the number of houses actually being built. And it's a frustration to me, and I think probably every councillor here, that not a spade has gone in the ground in Sandalford. Not a spade has gone in the ground. And we need those homes. So I don't know if that addresses your point as you might wish. If you want to probe it, I'd probably come back to you on it. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Wollaston, then I'll come to you. Councillor Wollaston.
Leader, I think you're correct. From my discussion with the housing team as shadow, I'm sure that you're right.
Thank you. Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Leader. And I see that this is a report that's that's evolving, and I'm pleased to see that. Question around the new high priority measures. Can you tell me how you're sure that then they are genuine improvements and not just shifting the goalposts? There's a lot of new ones there, and they're not all defined yet. Plenty of TBDs there.
What
Leader?
The driver for them? I'll come back for TBDs. Yes. There's a few. The driver for them was to give a little bit more specifics. I'm not going to be political here, but you're too easily dragged into ambitions this wide, and I think you have to funnel them to what the organisation can deliver on. Those 12 we believed were, and we brought it through, were ones we had to really focus on. I'm going to scrabble around, but I'm going to find the TBD page. Here we are, page 127, landscape. I'll talk to number 9. With both of those, and this we develop and implement a program of growing income by reshaping our assets and services. There has to be what I might call a commercialisation program of sweating your assets for income. And that is what that refers to. We need to develop and approve the transformation program, and we're putting a policy development group in to do that, but I want to see commercialisation in there. And we've got to complete that register of strategic council-owned property assets. Now, what do I mean by that? What have we got and what's the possibilities with it? And it's not just assets, it will be services as well. So although it's to be decided, I'm already deciding it, and I'll update it very rapidly. There are services we provide right across the board here and have done for many years, traded services to schools, for instance, that we need to assess. Can we sell more of them? Can we sell them out of area? That takes a bit of time because once you launch it, you've got to be able to deliver it. So that's another long-winded way of saying, you're right, there needs to be more detail. But equally, we've got to see what income we can generate through providing good services outside of car parking, for instance. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Codling, you got anything to add to that? No, I think we're happy with this. Those in, I do need to vote on it. Those in favour? Thanks very much indeed. We now move on to I think it's the revenue outturn, is it not? Contract award, I beg your pardon. So this is one for, where am I? 11. Thank you very much. I'm there. Okay. So I will introduce this and I will propose it. I believe Councillor Gawley will second it. Thank you very much. Members, this is for 165. And I've looked at this 3 times today and not been able to retain it. So there you are. That's a senior moment. 165. As you can see, seamless. And it is for, and this is why Councillor Gawley is seconding it, the Northcroft Leisure Centre decarbonisation, which will be greater than our delegated powers on capital programmes of £2.5 million. It's good news. It's good news that we have a grant as well as, a council capital budget contribution in order to significantly improve the decarbonisation of our leisure centre. Stuart will know better than me what impact it will have on our road to net zero, carbon net zero, which we are on track. Councillor Marsh, before you remind me, we may have to invest some more money in it, but we are on track to deliver it by 2030. And I'm really pleased to see this come forward. I'll just mention the forthcoming contract summary in terms of the highways term contract, but that will be a little while yet, and it is a very big piece of work. So that's my introduction. Councillor Gawley.
Yeah, as you say, this is an excellent opportunity to support the decarbonisation of the Northcroft Leisure Centre. Schools and leisure centres contribute significant, if not the highest, amount of carbon emissions from our own estates. So being able to use this money and kick off this project with earnest, as you say, will have a significant impact on our roadmap and our roadway to net zero and carbon neutrality. So it's excellent news. It is positive news, and obviously details will emerge as the project progresses. So yes, it's absolutely excellent to bring this forward, and I'm glad we can get on with it with our leisure colleagues, and I fully support the recommendations. I think it's also just touching lightly on the highways term contract. Obviously, our contract with Volker comes to an end next year, and it is frustrating that we have to go through this tender process with LGR on the horizon. And I do wish the government would hurry up and offer some clarity to many councils that will be in the same situation where they've got long-term partnership contracts coming to an end, as it is a lot of work. When the goalposts are changing. But with that, I will leave it there, Leader.
Thank you. Good news item. Councillor Wollaston.
I mean, clearly the Northcote Leisure, the decarbonisation with that level of grant is a complete no-brainer. Brilliant. My big concern is the highways retender. It's a huge amount of money. My understanding is that Volker has spent about £10 million so far this financial year. So they carry on, they're going to be doing £20 million. And I want to make sure that the retender is done properly, openly, and it's quite clear that we're getting value for money. And having raised local government reorganisation, that it's perhaps done in a short term rather than a long term this time around.
Yeah, I mean, extensive work has gone on. We've been engaging with consultants who are, experts in the field, and we're really looking as part of it. And I'm careful not to talk too much about the commercial elements of it, but we're looking at really enhancing what we offer through that tender, learning from what's worked well under the current Volker long-term arrangement, really focusing more on the environment. And we've done some pre-market engagement work already and had a lot of interest. And I think that in itself is good for competition and good for value for money. And we have a regular steering committee meeting on this because, like you say, there's a lot of work goes into it. It's probably second only to our waste contract in terms of value. And as you say, we've spent a lot of money with them this year and we will continue to do so. So it's really important we get value for money, but also best practice and learn from what the market is doing. And, perhaps LGR will offer opportunities, and I look forward to realising those. But we've got to do it sensibly. Like I said, it's a shame we have to do this process with the goalposts moving, but we can only act at the moment on what we know, and that is West Berkshire Council at the moment.
Thank you. Okay. All right then. Let's vote on this, please. All those in favour? Thank you. They are the recommendations detailed on page 169 of the report under the conclusions section, and minutes will reflect this. Did you want to vote again, or are you comfortable with that clarification? Thank you. Are you happy with that? Yeah. All right, thank you. Capital Finance Report Financial Year Quarter Q1. I'm introducing this. We will need a proposer and seconder because there are a large number of recommendations on page 107 to 109. Is that what we mean? Page 107 to 109? Because I've got, it starts at page 171. Anyway, hang on. Beg your pardon. So this is the Capital Finance Report, and we are being asked to approve the Q1 reprofiling proposal of 12.41 million, to note the budget reconciliation in Appendix B. There are adjustments to the 2025-26 capital programme. We got £60,000 of external grant for the community garden at Shaw House. And to note the allocation of £2,200,000 of grant funding relates to the Kennet Physically Disabled Resource Centre expansion to ensure that associated expenditure for the planned project is managed appropriately. We're also being asked to approve 678k of council funding related to Digital Infrastructure Group needs to be reinstated. Those are all clear on page, it's 3 of the report. I've got page 3 here and 2.1 of the report. So that's the recommendation in here. Secondary is Councillor Conley. Thank you. And I look for any other comments. So capital financing, do I have anything from the other side of the chamber? Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Leader. And in the context of the last item, I'd just like to know why, given the pressures and the delays on capital spending on schools and SEND, why those capital enhancements shouldn't be prioritised over discretionary schemes such as Northcroft Leisure Centre.
I don't know if Heather or Anne-Marie, it's not really for me to ask you how we prioritise these things, I guess. Again, have you got a particular project in mind? You know, for instance, that Falkland is going ahead at pace now. I don't think it is a question of either or. So I'm not sure I agree with you.
The report says that projects are delayed.
Are you referring
Through
to?
you, Chair, which project particularly are you talking about?
I made a note and look at the paper. You might want to do the same. I mean,
You might.
if I'm wrong and nothing's been.
No. I'm going to take this very seriously. There is an Appendix A, which is a reprofiling request. It's got 4 Houses Corner. We're very close to delivering that. Electrical vehicle charge points. We're about to award a contract. Fill station improvements, you may know, has been stuck for quite a long time because we depend on Great Western Railway purchasing land. Nutrient neutrality, expected to run over 2 years through to March 27. So you're straddling 2 or 3 financial years there. Brookfield School accessibility, the Trust has only just confirmed for West Berkshire Council to deliver the project. Of course, you know that it academised over the last year. And based on the project development, the summer holiday has now been missed. So we anticipate construction will commence Easter 2026. It's an important project. Heather and I have been over there and it needs doing. Equally, the next one, expectation to go into construction this financial year. And another important project because it will give us more spaces. Disabilities, infrastructure delivery, development SEM projects not sufficiently advanced to accurately spend at this point. I think this is what you're referring to, and we're frustrated, and we're looking at them weekly virtually to see what can be accelerated. So I think I've covered the Education Capital Enhancement Programme before you draw my attention to it. I hope you've been briefed on some of the problems we've had with insurance this year, which impacted on the summer holiday delivery for 2 or 3 schools. So I take your point, and you put me on notice and Heather on notice that we, and Councillor McCann, who has a specific responsibility for the built estate. So I receive your point.
Okay, I hope you appreciate that my concern is about the
Indeed.
school's estate.
Thank you. Councillor Collins.
Yeah, can I just come in here? It's not about prioritising Kennet Leisure over schools or anything like that. A lot of it has been around project management staff and just getting staff generally into those positions. So, you know, we're going as fast as we can. And obviously with the insurance problem that we've had this year as well has delayed things. But things like Brookfields and Castle School are going ahead. They're just a little bit behind.
Only this morning we sat with property and so Greg Bowman York, Richard Turner and Mark Lewis. And we talked about the programme, but Greg Bowman York was able to say to us, he's virtually back up to staff complement. He's had 3 officers down, leaving, and he's replaced them. It'll take a little bit of time to go up to speed, but we've gotten back to complement. So, you know, we're watching this very closely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Taylor, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, could I ask what the current status is of the Calcutt Schools rationalisation project?
I'm looking forward to visiting Tilehurst Parish Council about local government review and devolution. I've not been able to book a date yet, and I'm going to take the opportunity to see if you could talk to your clerk. We've given half a dozen dates. None of them have landed. I don't know if Reading Borough Council has been down to Tilehurst, but we're very keen to come over there. Now, why do I say all that? I take the opportunity to say that you're the chairman of the parish council, and I'd like your help a bit, really, because anticipating your question, as I thought I would get it at that meeting, the administration is committing to providing that rebuild of that school. Saying it here now. Now the work will be done and how we re-provide that work with the school, with the residents locally. And I say prioritise it within the capital programme. It's a big project, you know it, Councillor Taylor, but you've heard it here first because you've asked the question. That's the assurance we're giving to that school, its children, its parents. Thank you. Members, I think we're able to vote on this now. All those in favour? Thank you. Last up before the members' questions then is the revenue financial report, another one that went to scrutiny, did go to scrutiny. I know it does, I remember. And there is a question from Councillor Bowick, but I actually, before I invite you, I'll propose it. I think Councillor Codling is seconding it. It's to note. Okay, thank you. So that was the previous one. It's been a long evening. It's been a long day. So item 13, I'm introducing. The recommendation included within the report on page 171 is for members to note only. Do I have any questions? I think you were lining one up earlier, were you, Councillor Burke?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nearly half of the savings are shown as being in doubt.
Sorry?
Are shown as being in doubt.
You're probably referring to the table at 5.2, are you? To be more specific?
Yeah.
Okay, is that the question you're?
Well, my question is, what's the fallback? Plan?
Well, it's a very good question. It's Q1, end of Q1. I'm being told that we can make that up. I am saying to Shannon Coleman Slaughter, how robust is the forecasting? Because at the moment, we're talking about an overspend about 860k. That's quite a small amount on a budget of over 180 million pounds. I want to see how that forecast moves. So we're being again transparent here with the risk. You're noticing the risk. We're working to make sure that risk is managed, and we will see what Q2 tells us. Shannon, anything you want to add to that?
No, these were the forecasts at Q1. We are in the process of looking at Q2, and we will be able to report back in due course. All service directors are looking at their savings to make sure they are doing robust forecasting and trying to, where there have been pressures, see how they can deliver these savings in the year. So we are looking to the Q2 forecast.
I'll say what I said at scrutiny though, and for those who are there, they'll remember. If you look at 5.2 as it leads into that table, the main drivers of this are the unachieved savings of the care homes in adult social care. Now, that was expected to be around £2 million if the private sector picked them up. That is a project we're still working through. But in the meantime, there have been quite a lot of work on looking at that sort of business model. And without reducing quality, and Mr. Coe will support me on this, Councillor Clark, I believe will, we seem to be making savings about 500,000 up to about 600k of the 2 million with the homes still in our ownership. Did you want to add anything to that? Because what you're doing is looking at that efficiency, for instance, bearing down perhaps on the number of care workers that we take from the freelance market, which is more expensive. So work is going on even on that ahead of potential disposal. So that's the answer I'll stick to. I think it's quite reasonable. Any other comments from any other members? Then we note the item, I think. Okay with that? Yeah. Good. Last part of the meeting. Members' questions. I have said, in the absence of Councillor McKinnon, Councillor Bowick will. Is that all right? Yeah? Is that funny? Sorry.
Councillor McBowick.
McBowick, did I say McBowick? Oh my word, good heavens, good heavens, Councillor McBowick, you've got a Scottish ancestor somewhere, haven't you? Good grief. As I said, I was in here at 8:30 this morning and it's now 8 o'clock at night and I'm starting to flag, and now I've said that publicly, haven't I? I shouldn't say it, but hey, everybody's human. Thank you. Okay, question A, I'll pick up. I won't. It'd be the environment.
Yeah, I'm just struggling to get my head around what kind of mashup McBowick would be, and I'd be quite interested in that. Yes, thank you to Councillor McKinnon and Mr. Councillor Bowick in his absence. So from the outset of this change, the council's always said it would be there to support our residents, which we have been doing. The council recognises that some households may struggle with the standard black bin capacity under the new free weekly collection schedule, which we've talked about at great length. To support residents with genuine need, applications for additional black bin capacity are assessed individually using qualifying criteria that is well established and comparable to those used by other councils. Households will be approved for additional capacity if they meet one or more of the following criteria. Larger households with 6 or more permanent residents, larger households with 5 permanent residents, including 2 or more children in disposable nappies, households generating significant amounts of hygiene waste or other non-recyclable waste linked to a medical condition. That excludes clinical waste, which is collected separately and can be organised separately via the council as well. In all cases, the household must demonstrate that their current bin capacity is regularly insufficient for non-recyclable waste, and that this is beyond their reasonable control to reduce further. The aim is the aim is to ensure fairness while encouraging full use of the council's extensive curbside recycling services and non-curbside recycling services as well. To protect the integrity of the service and manage costs, successful applications may be subject to review at appropriate intervals. For example, when children are expected to be out of nappies or following a house move, for example, and residents move on. Additional capacity is not guaranteed permanently, and the council reserves the right to revert households to the standard bin capacity if eligibility changes for whatever reason. And I'd like to say again that we want to reassure residents that where a clear and evidence need exists, additional capacity is being provided. So far this year, a further 467 households have received either an additional or larger black bin compared to the 263 issued during the entirety of 24-25. And I believe this demonstrates our commitment to supporting those with unavoidable non-recyclable waste whilst protecting the integrity of our service and encouraging responsible waste behaviours. Do you have a supplementary?
On behalf of, I don't have one on behalf of Councillor McKinnon, but I have been contacted by residents who are at their wits' end in dealing with the, I know it's only now being introduced, but they are daunted by the prospect. I'm not sure that you did, you made clear what the criteria must be met to qualify for a larger black bin. And I get it that we don't want to be absolutely kind of detailed in what hoops people have to jump through. But I worry that people who don't necessarily have the capacity to challenge council might be daunted by the prospect and have to and are struggling to live with live with the 3 weekly collections. I have a resident who is in that position. She doesn't understand why her appeal for a larger black bin has been refused. I'm sure there are many others like that. What can we tell our residents?
What I would say is, contact, if you've got those examples, please do share them with myself and we'll work through them with the waste team. And again, I think I said this to Mr. Allen earlier on, that if there's an error and that needs to be reviewed, then we absolutely can. And waste officers have been out and visited residents that have raised concerns where perhaps extra capacity hasn't been granted, and they've spoken to officers, worked that through with officers, and come to different arrangements. We've had instances as well across the district where we've offered extra capacity because a resident's got concerns and they've turned it down. So it's really hard to put a hard and fast rule in place, like you kind of acknowledged. earlier on. So I would absolutely say if you've got specific examples, please share them with myself, and I can, work with the waste officers to arrange home visits so we can talk through issues and concerns and look at what solutions can be put in place.
Thank you. Move on to question B. I'm going to pick this up as I should. It's to me. We are happy to write to Olivia Bailey MP, but to save a stamp, we don't need to write to Lee Dillon MP, as both he and our party, the Liberal Democrats, oppose the harmonisation of taxation rates between horse racing and online casinos. However, I do agree that considering Labour are once again looking to damage rural communities, we should write to Ms Bailey, newly promoted as the Minister for Children, Families and Wellbeing, who, by the way, we must congratulate, and we hope she will bring the much needed support for SEND and the high needs block into much sharper focus with government, to ask her for her views on balancing the need to protect the vulnerable from the harm of online gambling while supporting important rural communities like Lambourne and the stables in her own constituency, such as West Ilsley. So I thank you for your question. Do you have a supplementary?
No, Chairman. Thank you for your response.
The next one is this would be you, Councillor McKinnon, from Councillor Marsh. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. As I'm sure it's a Scottish accent that's doing it, I'm quite sure.
I have an obsession with Councillor McKinnon, don't I? Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? You must tell him this. It's like some omnipotent person, isn't it, that happens to be here. Councillor McCann, please answer the question. You were starting to. It's been. I keep saying it's a long day. For goodness' sake, there's a long drink waiting for me somewhere. Thank you, Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Absolutely. As I'm sure the Councillor Marsh is aware, this is primarily a police matter, and the police have very specific powers to deal with this and this type of event. They have the 1990 Act for statutory nuisance. I do believe there was numerous calls made to the police and indeed out of our service, which didn't manage to actually bring it under control appropriately. We did contact Thames Valley Police and raise our concerns that not enough action was taken quick enough. But I'm sure Mr. Marsh, like myself, is old enough to remember the 1980s and the 1990s when these things popped up everywhere, and it was like whack-a-mole. As soon as you grabbed somebody's bit of equipment, it popped up another weekend and there was 10,000 people driving around the country. I can assure you that we will do everything within our powers to help the local residents not become victims to this again where we can. And we will encourage the police to pick up their responsibility appropriately and timely. Have you got a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. Quite right. In fact, residents report that the police initially said this is a council matter. And then when the members of the public have managed to get through to the council, were told it was a police matter, which we're now confirming, which is helpful. How can it be that we can get, say, somebody who's drumming in their house and disturbing the neighbours? How can we get the council? How is it that we can get the council to take action to stop that? It's happened in my ward, something as relatively small as that. Yet we're powerless, apparently, to do anything about 7 hours worth of very loud music, which was causing considerable distress, especially to elderly people. Some of whom came round to my house to say, "What on earth is going on out there?" But it's just, it is a serious matter. Is there nothing that the council can do? Because we do try to stop relatively minor infringements of people's sleeping hours, but this apparently not.
Thank you very much for that supplementary question. I can assure you that we at this council take these issues very seriously. And we will again reinforce the Thames Valley Police. We need them to be more quick of foot instead of quite cumbersome and slow to react. I think on the particular evening concerned, there was 2 police officers for the whole of Newbury, and probably only 2 or 4 for Reading. So the numbers of policing around the area is very, very small to deal with. The not a lot of crime goes on, with the greatest respect. So something like this is a bit of an unusual event, but hopefully they will be quicker foot next time. And I'm like yourself, it is very irritating, but I'm 40 years old since the last time I went to a rave.
Thank you. Right, you're next up, Councillor Bowick, to Councillor Clark, Adult Social Care, please.
Thank you, Councillor Bowick. It's tempting to refer back to earlier on, but I think also important just to reinforce that we have to make a number of complex and uncomfortable considerations at the council when looking at ways on how we can save money. Our approach to the resource centres has involved a significant degree of discussion with a wide range of stakeholders and some serious consideration by officers and members. All the way through, we've been very clear that we won't be changing the provision of services at the resource centres. If we cannot provide a service that is at least as good, if not better, than the one which we currently provide. Most importantly, the decision has major impacts on people. It has also had an impact on budgets. So it was important that we took the necessary time to reach the right decision. During this time, we have continued to talk to our staff, often when we had minimal updates for them. I'm confident that we have now made the right decision. As I said earlier, I am of course sorry for anyone who has been impacted by the uncertainty, but I think we've asked the right questions in the right way and come to the right answer. We'll continue to keep people informed about any changes to the resource centres, but they will continue to provide the services that people are used to. Do you have supplementary?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, the next one up is to Stuart Gawley from Councillor Burke.
Yep, Councillor Burke, thank you for your question. Thank you. It's not unusual, for industrial units such as Padworth Sawmill to be situated off of rural roads. Whilst it's not ideal, there is no breach of planning at this location and nothing can be done from a highways perspective to restrict access. However, I will ask officers to look at this route to see if there are any local measures that could be carried out to improve conditions for local residents. And in the meantime, I would urge residents and yourself to report any issues either to myself or via the council's online reporting system. Do you have a supplementary?
The big issue really is that this is one of a whole series of enforcement issues in the area. And taken in isolation, I take your point about the difficulty of enforcing in one specific road, but it's not just one road, it's a whole, I've got a whole list of enforcement issues here in front of me, which I don't want to bore you with, but they are legion. The council is not doing right by Aldermaston. It's unrestricted, effectively uncontrolled development and growth. And I would ask you, councillor, if you'd join me in Rag Hill and the area to take a look at the problems that residents face.
Happy to arrange that visit, and if you can share the details of the enforcement concerns you've got. I mean, it sounds like there might be some planning enforcement issues. So again, would absolutely advise you to report those. But yes, happy to set up a meeting and you can show me the issues on the ground for sure.
Thank you. Move on. F. Councillor Marsh, in your name, to again Councillor Gawley.
Yes, thank you for the question, Councillor Marsh. Communication is critical to ensure the success of a change. And as you can imagine, this change was affecting a vast number of households across West Berkshire. It was critical to make sure residents were aware, and this message repeated in as many formats as we possibly can to reach as many residents as we possibly could. To do this, we've spent £55,928 publicising the change to free weekly black bin collections. And that covered the cost of the July bin hanger, the September mail out, and also other advertising costs as well, such as local press and social media costs. This was taken into account when setting this year's part-year budget saving attached to this change in frequency and benefits and the benefits in terms of this change outweigh the costs. To contextualise it, I guess, it equates to approximately 88 pence per household affected by the change. And I hope you agree it's such a critical change that we needed to ensure that message reached our residents. Do you have a supplementary at all?
Well, only that it has taken, as I expected, a huge slice out of the first year's or the tranche of savings of £150,000. And I just wonder, would you agree that there is a case, at least, that rather than kind of have to spend this amount of money explaining of complexity and presumably continuing to do so because the pattern is so relatively complex compared to what people have now. I mean, when we all want to see more recycling, could this money have been better spent on, for example, as you said, publicising, but explaining to people the need for recycling, or even better, to improve the amount of curbside recycling that people can do, which actually would be guaranteed to increase recycling rather than what you're doing, which is hoping that by stopping them having the bin empty.
I think you're there. I think
that's the point. You get my gist.
I do, but I think you've lost the bigger picture, and I think that's unsurprising. You know, there is a bigger picture here, and it's not just about the recycling rate. That is a critical part of this change. But there is also that big bit, and I would expect a member of the Green Party to be able to see that, you know, reducing waste in that waste hierarchy is the first thing that we should be looking to do. You know, reduce, reuse, recycle being the waste hierarchy. I can absolutely understand your concern, and I register that. And I think, you know, this has been an excellent opportunity to talk about recycling in great detail. You know, and I actually say thank you to the local media for coming out and spending significant portions of time with our waste teams at Veolia and also waste officers and myself looking at and giving it really good, important coverage. You know, so I appreciate it's a lot of money, but like I said, it's actually been taken into account in that part-time saving and also under budget compared to what we were expecting to have to spend in the first place. You're right, we will be doing reinforcement activity in terms of what those dates are and things we can do, but we'll be doing that in our usual communication outlets and timings. And like I said, for me, it's that long-term bigger picture we've got to remember as well. We've got the emissions trading scheme coming down the pipeline really soon in 27-28, which is that central government legislation. And if we carry on doing what we're doing and don't reduce and recycle, we could end up with an extra tax bill of £1.4 million a year. You know, and we've talked tonight a lot about the resource centres and adult social care. And I hope you would agree with me that it'd be better to reduce that tax bill now than have to talk about other essential services. And I also find it somewhat strange that a member of the Green Party is critiquing our conversations on recycling. And I find it a little bit disappointing that this initiative and this communication and reinforcement activity hasn't had that cross-party support. After all, we are tackling a climate emergency.
Thank you. I'll go on to question G from Councillor Bowick in place of Councillor McKinnon. And my answer is, because I pick it up for Councillor Cottingham, I do agree that a balance must be struck between a capital receipt and rental income that helps the revenue account. It's something we're calibrating regularly. Councillor Wollaston sat with me in our property investment board on Monday of this week, and he heard me say that we will continue to undertake that assessment. You know that the properties we hold have not all maintained their original value. I don't know if we bought at the top of the market, but prices are deflated at present, and that is being looked at all the time. We do not have any properties on the market at this time. That may change, but freeing up some money to invest in transforming services and thereby save money both initially and in the long term is important too. The world is changing all the time, and with the coming of AI systems, we must harness those that work and which make us more efficient. spending less taxpayers' money and improving their services. And I'm sure you'd join me in that aim. So I'm not disagreeing with the thrust of your question in any way. I'm trying to put a bit of context behind it. Thank you. A supplementary.
I don't, but Councillor Wilson's our subject expert on property. I know. So if he hasn't, could I offer it to him?
I'm passing Councillor McKinnon's question to you, and you're passing your supplementary, Councillor Wollaston. Bring it on.
I think it's fair to say, Leader, that we had this discussion at Property Investment Board, and I think we're at one effectively is saying we're not going to rush to sell properties because it was going to impact on the income to the council.
Absolutely, and you know, I can imagine if Councillor McKinnon was here, he'd be talking about how we said we were going to unwind the property portfolio, and we still intend to do so, but we're managing our finances in such a way that we don't have to rush it, but we do need to free up some capital to help us with our transformation programme. Thank you. Next one's up from Councillor Marsh to Councillor Stewart-Gawley again.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Marsh, for the question. I think before I go on to answer the question, I think it is pertinent to pay my respects to the family and friends of the recent tragedy that we had on the 339 further along on a different stretch of road to what's in the question, but there was a fatality there this week. And whilst the investigation is ongoing and no cause of that has been determined, I just want to recognise that and pay my respects to the family. With regards to the stretch that you mentioned in your question from Newbury College down to the Swan roundabout, I can completely understand the frustration here, and I'm sure Mr. Winstanley probably has headaches about the amount of times I speak about the cumbersome bureaucracy of not just West Berkshire Council's traffic regulation orders, but kind of the national legislation that underpins it. And I speak to a lot of my Liberal Democrat portfolio peers, and they are probably as arguably frustrated as I am, if not more. However, what I would say is now that this has been approved, and once a speed limit has been approved at the task group, those speed limits are programmed for delivery in the following financial year, which means there's always a delay between the approval and the consultation. However, unfortunately, this particular scheme has taken slightly longer than we would have liked due to vacancies within the various delivery teams on that critical path, whether that's from legal, whether that's in the highways, traffic and road safety. But what I can say is that consultation has concluded and it is scheduled for an individual decision to later, I think it's the 24th of October. So we are nearing the end of this process now. Councillor Marsh, do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably agree that this is so disappointing. It shouldn't be taking this long. And since that meeting, there's been another one in February this year where we looked at several schemes for other parts of the district and recommended some. When are they going to happen? I mean, is it always going to be this kind of delay? Because people are
at the end, I think we've got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Winstanley, it's roughly 18 months from task group to implementation. And I think there's several reasons for that. One, you've got the legal processes to go and the preparation of the traffic regulation order. You've got the decision-making processes. And if there are objections, that extends that timeline quite significantly and triggers an awful lot more officer time and work to prepare the various reports, etc., as well as the statutory consultation periods on top of that, call-in periods, etc., etc. So I completely understand the frustration, and I am with you, and that's why we've engaged outside help to support the 20-mile-an-hour rollout, and I've also used that support to mop up some of those previous long-standing change as well, because when we took over the council, we inherited quite a backlog as well, to be fair. So we are still mopping up previous ones. But I said we've engaged outside help. We are working really hard to recruit to the vacancies, both within traffic and road safety, and also other areas of that critical path. I'm really hoping to speed it up as much as we possibly can. But I do apologise for the delay.
And the final one to Councillor Marsh to, again, the Portfolio Holder of Environment Highways, Councillor Stuart Gawley.
Yeah, I mean, as a cyclist myself, completely understand the frustration that inconsiderate parking causes. And I think first off, I would urge residents to bear this in mind when parking their cars and park considerately for the sake of all road users, whether that's keeping pavements free, keeping cycle lanes and dual purpose pavements free, or road-based cycle lanes. It's in everybody's interest that we go home safe at the end of the day. The traffic and road safety team have been working on other key priorities of the administration that we promised to deliver on, such as the pedestrianisation extension and the rollout of 20-mile-an-hour zones across the district, being two examples of that key work. Now that we are kind of over the hump of that work and they are well underway, the team will be working on the kind of business as usual activity and duties and the various restrictions that we need to put in place. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, last question, everyone will be pleased to know. The only thing that's going to stop people stop parking in this cycle lane, which is currently completely unusable and has been unusable for years by cyclists, affecting a key route into the town of Newbury. The only thing that will stop it is double yellow lines where in between the cycle lane and the pavement. That's been done elsewhere. Can you give a commitment that that will happen, because that will solve this problem just like that?
Yes, absolutely. If it's in the work programme, then it will be done. Absolutely.
Members, thank you very much. 2.5 hours almost on the button. Bless you. And thank you for your attendance. Thanks for all your help, and sorry about my little bit of wobble. I think it's a glucose deficiency or maybe an alcohol, who knows. Anyway, meeting over.